This is Let's Talk Teens, a parenting podcast sharing tips on raising amazing teenagers. We are both certified life coaches that have worked with teenagers as coaches, mentors, and teachers. We are sharing what we have found to work best when dealing with teens and tough issues. This is Abbi and Cheree, Let's Talk Teens, episode 85, Fighting with Your Siblings, Good or Bad?
Okay, parents, this one might shock you, but I'm going to say there's some good things about sibling conflict. That might surprise you, but let's talk through it. I mean, it's summertime now, if you're most likely when you're listening to this, and you're noticing that your kids are fighting more and it's driving you crazy, and it would be weird if it didn't. But there's some good benefits that come from that, and we'll talk about those. And then we're going to talk about when to jump in and how to jump in and how to help teach them solve that conflict. We don't want to just leave them alone in it for sure. We don't, but we also don't want to eliminate it because there's some good learning. So maybe just kind of open our minds to that thought. I don't want to eliminate this, even though it's not great. It's not fun. But when they argue with their siblings, they're actually building skills that shape their future relationships. So this is good practice. I've heard this before, but our homes are laboratory for learning. So this is a part where our kids can learn. But so some of the learning that happens is they get to learn how to navigate disagreements instead of avoiding it. There are certain personality types, especially that would just love to avoid any disagreement or any conflict. And so navigating it and teaching them how can be really helpful because there is going to be disagreement and there is going to be conflict in the workforce, in other relationships as we get older. So let's learn how to navigate that. Our teens can learn how to develop real problem solving skills and not just be told what to do. They get to figure that out. They get to learn to solve problems. They get to practice listening and seeing others' perspectives and compromising. That one's a hard one, right? To see other people's perspectives. Sometimes as adults, we get so stuck in our perspective, we can just see our way. Have you ever seen, Abby, that it's maybe a meme that has like a 6 and a 9 and it says, depending on how you look at it, you see a 6 or a 9, which side of it
Oh,
you're on.
yeah,
Have you ever seen
yeah,
that?
yeah.
But
Yes.
I think we do that. Like it's so easy to see what we're looking at. Oh no, it's a 6, and someone on the other side is like, no, it's a 9, right? And and just helping our teens learn to see other people's perspectives and learn to compromise. And the last thing I thought of that I think is just super helpful is they get that hands-on experience of managing big emotions in real time. You know me, I always come back to the emotions. So these are some things, these are some benefits. This is why it's good for our kids to argue. What are your thoughts on that, Abby?
It's funny when you and I were chatting before we pressed record on like the sibling things, I was like, I don't think there's anything good that comes from like sibling fighting. But now that you've said that, I'm like, yes, absolutely. And the thing that went through my head is this is um fighting is a word I'm using loosely here, but this is, you know, problem solving at like a healthy, mature level. There's no name calling, there's no meanness. And so those really are just like such awesome skills that we can teach our youth by letting them, have that interaction with their siblings when they're like, no, I want to watch this on TV. And they're like, no, I want to watch this. And I think for me, like the best indicator of do I jump in or do I not is are they being respectful? Are they being like, yeah, they're disagreeing. They might not
Yeah,
be
it's
thrilled with
okay to
each other.
disagree.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but they're not being mean, right? It's
exactly.
that meanness that you should step in every time. And so I love this. Oh, I can check in and tell, oh, yeah, they're just like figuring out what they're going to watch on TV. I'm not going to intervene because I'm not hearing meanness. And this is a real life skill because guess what? They're going to have a spouse one day that they're like, no, I think we should do this. And they're like, no, I think we should do this. And yeah, we've practiced that before in a respectful way.
Yeah, I love that. I agree so much. So some of them we just want to let them navigate when things are going. I mean, they might be disagreeing. It might be a tiny bit heated, but they're not calling each other names, and you can tell they're working through it. But we also don't want to stop every argument and intervene and say, "Stop fighting, stop calling each other names." And that's all we want to do is like, "Stop, knock it off." And then we want them to stop. That also isn't helpful. They need help learning how to to resolve this conflict, and they need that help guiding them through it. And I think that's the thing as a parent that we get to do is help them pause, figure some things out, and reset. Can you imagine if we all did that as parents? If we all helped our kids learn those skills, what it would be like?
Mm.
Even 5 or 10 years from now in the world, because I think so many adults have never learned how to resolve conflict or how to work through things in a healthy way. So we get to navigate them or help navigate them through that. So here's some steps of like simple and yet realistic ways that we can do that in the moment. First, I think it's really important to just like make sure we're not escalated, right?
Hmm.
That we might need to take a breath and be like, okay, this is driving me crazy, and I'm going to try really hard to keep my emotions pretty calm and neutral through this. But as we go to our teens, we don't want to shut them down, but we want to just say, okay, let's take a pause. Let's take a pause. Okay, I'm here to help. Let's slow this down. I'm here to help. Let's slow this down. Let's all just take a breath for a second. We're going to figure out some solutions. We're teaching them right there to pause the escalation, to stop, to reset their nervous system, because everyone's nervous system is probably like in that fight or flight because they're arguing. And so we're just going to stop. Here, I'm here to help. Let's slow this down. And as a parent, you're not taking sides with that. You're just creating safety for everyone. Pretty powerful, right?
I was just thinking exactly what you said at the end there that um we're not picking a side because I feel like sometimes, and we've all done this, I do this, where you're like, stop, just stop, like just give it to your younger sibling or just chill
Yes.
out. That's when our youth go, mom always picks this side or she doesn't
Yep.
hear me out. And it is because we've just been like, go away, go away, go away. And I'm not saying that we haven't done that before, but like this way, when you can stop and be like, okay, we're playing referee a little bit, but then both sides are like figuring out with us and we're not going, well, just give it to your younger sibling or just stop because you already had a turn, right? And so we can help them problem solve without picking sides or making them feel diminished.
I love that. I think it's so important. And that goes right into the next one, which is number two, let each child feel heard. Each child needs that opportunity. So then it's like, okay, we're going to give turns. Tell me what happened. Now it's your turn. It's really asking, like we want everyone to be heard. And I think it's so good to have a rule of like, okay, we're not going to interrupt. I remember when I was in college, I think it was probably a family development class or something, but we were given like this little piece of a floor, like a tile. It was really, or a laminate piece. And the teacher was talking about how when you're in a conversation with someone close to you, like a spouse or, a girlfriend or boyfriend or a friend, of just saying like, who has the floor? Whoever's holding the floor gets to talk and not interrupt them
Oh, I
until
like
you give
that.
them the piece of the floor, which I was like, that's a good visual of like, okay, we don't need to interrupt. Um, so as he takes his turn, we're not going to interrupt. As she takes her turn, we're not going to interrupt. Okay. And then it's reflecting back. As a parent, this is good teaching to help reflect it back. Okay, so what I hear, this is what you experienced and this is what you experienced. So you're upset because he took your turn, or you're frustrated because you were still playing. Maybe they were playing the Nintendo Switch or something. I don't know. But that diffuses a lot just by having each child be heard. And you're teaching them that, like, that everyone needs to be heard and everyone has like their experience that they just want to talk about. And we can hold space for them and not interrupt them. Okay, the number three as a parent, I think, is to name the skills they're learning. This is powerful, and often we skip this. We don't talk about this, but I think it's really good to say, like, oh, you guys are figuring out how to solve this problem together. See, even saying that as a parent, like, oh, I can tell you guys are figuring out how to solve this problem together. And it's not a bad thing or making it like, oh, you guys are fighting and this is so bad, but like you guys are learning that conflict is important to solve. It's not necessarily bad or good. It's just important to figure out. Does that make sense? Of just like really helping them understand this is what they're learning and it is important.
Mm. I throw in there too my mom mantras of like, Winslow's love each other. Winslow's figure this out.
Oh, I
Or
love that. Yes. Yes, yes,
just to
yes.
remind them, like, or I'll say this all the time, we're on the same team. Like, we are all on the
Yes.
same team. And so this is
Yes.
your chance to throw in your little mantras of like, hey, we love each other. This is normal, right? To also say, because I think sometimes we can start to label our kids or and say, oh, these two always fight or these two never get along.
Yes, for sure
And
we do.
that impacts your youth. They go, okay, well, you want me to be the kid that doesn't get along with my brother? Like, I can be that, right? So instead,
Yes.
build them up of, hey, Winslow's, we are a team. We're together in this. I
We're
know
going to
you
figure
love
this
each other.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to figure this out. We love each other. We're going to figure this out. And we're learning to problem solve and we're learning to understand each other. See how we're stating, we're really helping them see the skills they're learning. Like this isn't a problem. And that's what I was trying to say. It's like it's not a bad thing. It's like Winsows love each other. And so we're figuring this out because we're learning to solve conflict. We're learning to understand each other. We're learning to see it from someone else's perspective. As we state that as a parent, like this is the skill they're learning, it just clicks differently in their brain. They no longer look at this conflict as like I'm a bad person or they're a bad person because that's what our brain goes to is either they're the problem or I'm the problem. And we
Hmm.
want to get rid of that who's the problem and have it be more like we're learning a skill. We're learning to see each other's point of view. We're learning to solve problems. We're learning to communicate. This is the skill we're learning. Okay, and then as a parent, it's so easy to be like, okay, you go to your room and you do this and or solve the problem, or you
Yeah.
take this for 10 minutes and then you take this for 10 minutes, or you get the car today and your sister gets the car tomorrow, or we want to solve the problem. But especially in these older teens, this is so valuable to instead of giving them the answer, like ask them questions and guide them to it. Okay, what do you think we could do here? What would be a good solution? What seems fair to you? What seems fair to you? Is there a way we can handle this better? Is there a way we can solve this that it's a win-win?
I was about to say that. I always try to find that win-win
Mm-hmm.
because it's there somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think where this gets like challenging as a parent is you've got lots of personalities. I have a
Yeah, for
son
sure.
that would be like, well, maybe like he's so logical, like he'd come up with logical responses. Then I have another son that's like, well, I don't want it anymore. Like, you think I care about this, you know? And
Yeah.
so it can get tricky, but that's why we're there, right? That's why
Yeah.
we're there to help them find that win-win or to help navigate this so that it's as fair as it can be. And man, not everything can be that slice down the middle fair, but we can at least get to some solutions.
Yeah. I would say I have a child that would say, fine, they can have it. Like, I don't need it. Like, and they'd kind of be the
Yeah.
victim of it, right?
Mhm.
And I just would stop and say, like, okay, but that's not a win-win. Right? That's still not a win-win. And if they're like, well, we just don't know, then maybe it's okay to offer some, well, what about if, but I think it's good to let them think through it a little bit. And then just support the follow through. Like once they agree or once there's a solution that everyone's come up with, it feels like a win-win. Just be like, okay, let's try this and see how it goes. And if it needs adjusting, let's come back to it. Let's come back to it.
Yeah.
Now, we also know that sometimes it gets heated, right? Sometimes we can't have that calm conversation. Someone is super triggered, their emotions are really big, and they are not in a space. They're really defensive, or, this happens a lot with us as parents and even our teenagers that we get really defensive. And I say this, when either party is super defensive, it is not the time to figure it out
Mm.
because it's not going to go well. You're not going to be able to be rational and think through and find a win-win. And so if it's super heated, we take a break. We're like, okay, we're gonna take a break on this. We're gonna send this, and like maybe no, right now no one gets the car, and it's not to punish anyone, but we're gonna take a 10-minute break, and then we're gonna come back and figure out who gets to drive the car, or figure out the solution to this. But right now, we're too heated. I like to say, I mean, even as a parent, like if I'm feeling defensive, I'm feeling really defensive right now, and I can tell I need a little breather. Can we come back to this in 10 minutes? Or, I can tell and you're feeling defensive, but maybe it's better if we just say, I can tell we're feeling defensive. Let's take a break for
Yeah.
10 minutes and come back to this. And then come back and really have everyone come back 10 minutes and see how it goes.
I love that royal we, right? Like
Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
is like using those iMessages, using some of those great
Yeah.
communication skills. And it might be you modeling that as the parent, but what happens is that becomes your teen's language that they learn and go, okay, when I am so
Yes.
mad at my future spouse, I don't want to be saying things, right? Like I
Yeah.
need to go take a break and use iMessages, right? And so
Instead of you and pointing fingers, right?
yes,
Yeah.
totally. So these are lifelong skills we want to teach our youth, and I love that because more often than not, yeah, are gonna have to break them apart. Say, okay, you go to your room, you go to your room. I'm calling you back here in 10 minutes, right? Like, and we'll solve this because that's real life. I think sometimes, we're like, oh, in a fight, I would do this, and it's like, oh, I'm so mad at you, and we might want to be like, you're being selfish and you're being rude, but if we can just take a deep breath re-listen to like maybe this to help you calm down, but just to go, okay, we're going to revisit this in a little bit.
And then I think at the end of that, revisiting it or solving the problem is really thanking them for being willing to work through it and thanking them for their openness in learning a new skill and their cooperation. Like really use some character traits or some things they just displayed in how they handled that you admire and really point those out. Like I really liked how you compromised. I really thought that was amazing how you just kept a really calm voice. Like, I hope you're proud of yourself. And instead of you saying, like, I'm proud of you, I hope you recognize that. I hope you're proud of yourself. You're helping them own the parts that they are figuring out, which helps it click in their brain more. So they want to keep doing that. They get that reward, right? And then it helps them see without pointing out what they need to work on, maybe some areas they want to work on. But because they feel good about part of it, they're not discouraged that they're just a failure at communication or a failure at problem solving. They know they're well on their way. And I think that's really good. A few things just finishing this up is just be careful to avoid is jumping in too fast, forcing apologies. I think that one can happen. Like, just say sorry, just figure, but we don't want to do that. We want to solve problems, taking sides and solving it for them every time. So think of your role less as a referee and more of a coach on the sidelines, guiding, prompting, and teaching skills that they can use forever in all their future experiences. Doesn't that sound better? Like, okay, I gotta be a coach instead of a referee. That feels more helpful and helps them be well on their way to learning conflict resolution.
Thank you for listening to Let's Talk Teens with Cheree Murdock and Abbi Winslow. If you are looking for more tips to help your teenager, here's where you can find us. You can find Cheree Murdock on Instagram at Cheree Murdock Coaching or on her website, ChereeMurdock.com. You can find me, Abbi, on Instagram as Abbi Winslow or on my website, AbbiWinslow.com. Please rate and review our podcast and share with a fellow parent. Thanks for listening.